you experience sexism during this campaign?
Duh.
Just take the number of cases where Justice Kennedy has joined with the liberals. All those will shift from liberal to conservative.
I just got a new t-shirt in the mail.
Wow.
It's like it was made just for me.
What an honor.
The man accused of plowing a car through anti-white nationalist protesters in Charlottesville last year, killing Heather Heyer, has been charged with a hate crime. A federal grand jury indicted James Alex Fields Jr. on 30 counts, including racially motivated violence.
Heather Heyer's death was a tragedy. She wasn't looking for a fight. She was looking to lend her voice to her cause. Peaceful protest is every American's birthright.
The leaders of South Sudan's rival factions have signed a peace deal to end the 4-year civil war that's led to the deaths of tens of thousands of people and driven around 4 million from their homes. President Salva Kiir and his former vice president Riek Machar have made similar agreements in the past that failed to stop the fighting. The white Pennsylvania police officer who, just hours after being sworn in, shot and killed an unarmed black teenager, is facing life in prison. Michael Rosfeld has been charged with the criminal homicide of Antoine Rose Jr. after giving conflicting statements to police as to whether he thought Rose Jr. was carrying a gun. His lawyer says Rosfeld was in a dangerous situation and had the right to shoot. French butchers are demanding protection from vegans. In a letter to the French Interior Ministry, the French Federation of Butchers called fake blood sprayed on storefronts by vegan activists, quote, neither more nor less than a form of terrorism, and condemned media exposure of the vegan way of life. The Office of the Inspector General at the Department of Health and Human Services says it's launching a nationwide review of shelters that house migrant children. The Inspector General's office says that what investigators have seen at some facilities so far prompted them to launch a wider inspection. And a spokeswoman says they're specifically checking employees' background screenings and making sure physical and sexual abuse is being reported. The investigation will look at shelters that house all of the nearly 12,000 migrant children under the care of Health and Human Services, including kids taken from their parents.
HHS has custody of about 2,000 migrant children who've been separated from their families as a result of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy. Government officials haven't been able to answer many questions about how those children are being cared for. But yesterday, HHS Secretary Alex Azar told a congressional committee that children in custody have the right to make phone calls to family members.
We want every child and every parent to be in communication at least twice a week so that they're talking by Skype or by phone.
Immigration attorneys and advocates have told us that in reality, those phone calls aren't always happening on a regular basis. But Vice News obtained a recording of a phone call between a 7-year-old boy from Guatemala and his mother. The 7-year-old boy is in an Office of Refugee Resettlement shelter in Arizona. He crossed the border with his father, who is now detained in a Texas detention facility, and his mother and younger brother remain in Guatemala. Last night, the boy spoke to his mother on the telephone.
Sí. Cuando quieras hablar contigo, decides que quieres hablar conmigo, papá. Sí. Yo he estado buscando por hablar contigo y no he podido porque no se podía, el teléfono no servía. ¿Demás niños que están también ahí? Sí, mami. Sí. ¿Salen a otro lado? ¿No juegan ahí, pues? Bien. Bien juegan ahí. ¿Y qué juegan ahí? Sí. No lloré, mi amor, no, estate contento, ya vas a salir de ahí. A tu papito no le han llamado, ¿quieres hablar con tu hombre? Recordar que Dios existe, papá, hincate y orarle a Dios, decirle que te ayude a salir de ese lugar de ahí.
Sí, por eso estaba hablando conmigo el día de hoy. Me acaba de pedir oro por ti.
Dios va a hacer el plan. No, nosotros no sabíamos que eso estaba así, si no hubiera dejado de asegurar con tu papá, pero como pensamos que todo estaba bien ahí, mira que el gobierno fue el que puso eso así.
Sí, va.
Y ahí vas a salir, no estés triste, ya poquito falta para que llegue tu papá y te vas a otra vez a estar con él. No tengas miedo, ya vas a salir de ahí. De ahí vas a salir, nada te va a llevar para otro lado, te vamos a volver a ver otra vez. No tengas miedo que no te va a pasar nada ahí, de ahí te van a sacar. Ajá. Entonces sí, papá, y cuídate mucho y no llores, papá, estate ahí alegre, ahí y sé obediente.
Sí.
Vamos. Va para Dios, nene.
Sí, mamá.
This was only the second time the 7-year-old boy has been able to have a conversation with his mother since he was separated from his father almost a month ago. He still has not been able to speak with his father.
People in 7 states voted yesterday, and it was a good night for President Trump. 2 candidates he endorsed, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster and New York Congressman Dan Donovan, won their primary races. A Republican he likes far less, Mitt Romney, also secured a Senate nomination in Utah. On the Democratic side, Colorado could have the country's first openly gay governor after Jared Polis won the primary there. And in Maryland, a former NAACP president who campaigned with Bernie Sanders, Ben Jealous, could now become the state's first black governor. But the biggest upset came in New York City, where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez appeared to surprise even herself by unseating 10-term Representative Joe Crowley, a fixture in Congress who seemed like he was next in line for House Democratic leader and possibly speaker.
This victory belongs to every single grassroots organizer, every working parent, every mom, every member of the LGBTQ community. Every single person is responsible for this.
Ocasio-Cortez, a 28-year-old without a conventional politician's resume, campaigned as a Democrat. But she's closely tied to the Democratic Socialist movement and ran on a leftist platform. Medicare for all, a federal jobs guarantee, free tuition at public colleges, and abolishing ICE. Ocasio-Cortez organized for Bernie Sanders and once worked for Senator Ted Kennedy. But her most important qualification is that she's not part of the establishment.
This brought you out. You won this surprise upset. What made you do this?
Well, I knew that we could be better. I knew in my backyard, I'm an organizer here, I'm an educator here, I've worked with families here, I understand the economic crises that people are facing in New York City. We can't afford to live in the neighborhoods that our families have called home for generations. And
including your own family.
Including my own family. And I knew that so many people were kind of thirsty for representation that was really fierce in its advocacy for working class Americans.
All these news stories say you're a socialist, a democratic socialist, a member of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. Are you a Democrat?
Yeah, I'm a Democrat. In fact, I started off this race as part of a coalition, Justice Democrats.
They're kind of scared of you, aren't they?
I don't know. I've been in press all day.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you something someone said? You might not have heard it. Claire McCaskill, right?
Yeah.
You know Claire McCaskill. But she said, you know, I'm a centrist, I'm a proud centrist, and what we have to do as Democrats, especially in this environment right now, is to compromise. She was suggesting, in a way, that you're not going to compromise.
Well, the question is, compromise what? I don't compromise my values, but I'm certainly willing to compromise to get things done. You know, if I have to make compromises to improve in the direction of improving our healthcare, I'm happy to. If I have to make compromises in terms of improving our educational system, I'm happy to do those things. But I will not compromise on a vision, and I will not compromise on the goal, and I will not compromise on on the future that I think is best for this country.
I've seen on Twitter quite a bit talking about misogyny being a problem within the party and within some politics in general. Did you experience sexism during this campaign?
Duh. Of course. I mean, the New York City political establishment, Congress, it's 80% male. That's not an accident, you know? It's not like women just decided, oh, I'm gonna give up all my power, you guys go do it. I mean, come on.
Why do you think, I mean, you've been out there, you know, you were down at the border recently. Tell me what you saw there and tell me how you think it can be solved. I mean, this seems to be an intractable problem.
First of all, immigration is not a problem. And one of the really serious issues is that that narrative and that mythology has really just been hijacked and perpetuated in the United States. The idea that immigration is somehow a negative thing. You know, my congressional district included, we're half immigrant, and people are so proud to be part of a community like that because it's awesome. It's awesome. It really is awesome. Like, love immigrants. They're awesome.
How do you avoid changing in DC? How do you remain a principled kind of social justice, democratic socialist when you're in Congress?
This can be a process of evolution. It doesn't have to be a process of bitter confrontation. I can go to DC as I am, and we can, with my perspective, and we can get things done. It is possible. And what I hope most of all is that, you know, after today, is that between now and November, that I help elect a caucus of non-corporate Democrats. We can do this. This is absolutely within our reach.
Liberals just wanted to believe that it couldn't happen. They were hoping Anthony Kennedy, the justice who embodies the ideas of impartiality, inquisitiveness, and intellectual rigor, wouldn't let Donald Trump, who doesn't, select his replacement. But in a succinct letter sent to the White House today, Kennedy announced he would step down after a 30-year career on the Supreme Court. It's a huge deal, and court watchers are freaking out.
The consequences for the Constitution and the country could not be higher. The retirement of Justice Kennedy will transform the court in ways that we have not seen in more than 30 years, and it will be remarkable to see the political firestorm that's about to erupt.
Most people can't name all the Supreme Court justices, or even a few of them, but those 9 people have incredible power over American politics. Just in the final week of the most recent term, they decided on 4 big cases that fell along predictably ideological lines. The court said that voting districts in Texas hadn't been drawn to discriminate against minorities. They gave Trump a win on the travel ban case. And they said states can't force anti-abortion pregnancy centers that advertise as health clinics to let women know that abortions are even available. And today, the justices dealt a major blow to labor unions. In all 4 of those cases, Justice Kennedy, who was appointed by President Reagan, sided with the conservatives.
I, Anthony Kennedy, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
But what made him a legend was his unpredictable swing votes that he would cast at key moments. In 2005, he tipped the court towards declaring it unconstitutional to sentence someone under the age of 18 to death. In the 2015 landmark same-sex marriage case, Kennedy sided with the liberals on the court and wrote the now famous opinion, which included these words about gay couples. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right. With Kennedy hanging up his robe, the will he or won't he surprise is gone, and a new reality is here to stay.
Just take the number of cases where Justice Kennedy has joined with the liberals. Roe, marriage equality, even affirmative action, all those will shift from liberal to conservative, and that'll have huge effects on the country.
With the election in November looming, President Trump and the Republicans in the Senate are going to have to work fast to replace Kennedy.
We will begin our search for a new justice of the United States Supreme Court that will begin immediately.
It's likely that by the end of the year, a new youngest justice will be installed on the court and will stay there for decades, which means that Trump's most lasting achievement might be the work he did to move the high court to the right.
On Sunday, Mexicans will choose their next president and a long list of local officials. The top issue dividing voters is how to clean up political corruption and drug violence. But one town in Michoacan has cut itself off, banishing the national political system, and, they hope, the problems that come with it.
The armed men and women who guard every entrance to Cherán are looking for strangers with contraband. At the height of election season, that means mostly political campaign ads. Ads like these, and the political parties that produce them, are completely banned in this town of 20,000. It's been that way since 2011, when the population kicked out an organized crime syndicate, along with every cop and politician in town.
Se expulsó a los policías de ese momento porque nos dimos cuenta que estaban coludidos con el crimen.
¿Ustedes acudían a la policía a que los ayuden?
De hecho, mucha gente en un primer momento denunció cualquier abuso, pero ahí les daban carpetazo y no hacían nada.
The criminals' main business was illegal logging. They had cleared nearly 70% of the forests surrounding Cherán, which the people depended on for survival. Abel Garcia's father was once part of a community group that patrolled the forests.
Él les estorbaba, él era una piedrita en el zapato para ellos, entonces tuvieron que llevarse a él, a sus compañeros. No fuimos nosotros, mi familia, sino fueron más familias que resultaron afectadas por parte del crimen organizado. Asesinatos, desapariciones, extorsión, violación a nuestras mujeres. Todo esto fue contribuyendo para que tomara la decisión de decir, vamos a ponerle un alto a esta situación.
Garcia now works in the old police station.
¿Hubo alguna agresión verbal, alguna agresión física por parte tuya?
He's part of a democratically elected council that oversees law enforcement. That includes an autonomous militia that now patrols Cherán, where there have been 9 murders in 7 years. A tiny number for Michoacán, one of the states that's suffered most in the recent drug wars.
Que toda la gente nos ubica. Anteriormente venían policías y eran pues de otros estados, pueblos. Entonces no había la misma confianza pues como pues, la hay ahora, ¿no?
¿Cuál es el peor tipo de crimen que ustedes encuentran?
Ahorita sí, crímenes no. De aquí dentro de la comunidad no pasa de una riña. Eso es lo más... Eso es lo más grave.
¿De una riña de cantina o algo así?
De cantina, de callejera.
Mexico has had to recognize Cherán's autonomous police because the Constitution allows indigenous communities some independence. That goes for their political system too, which has no mayor or other executives. Instead, decisions are made by assemblies, beginning with about 200 neighborhood bonfires. Every 3 years, one person from each bonfire runs for a seat on a 12-member ruling council.
En eso va, compañeros, hasta ahorita los trabajos.
This year, Salvador Adame was one of them.
¿Por qué decidiste tú postularte a formar parte de la nueva administración?
Aquí en Cherán, en nuestro sistema de gobierno, no te postulan, sino que los vecinos, a través de tu fogata, son los que te postulan.
Entonces no fue decisión tuya individual.
Primeramente no estaba dentro de mis planes. Yo soy profesor universitario aquí en el Instituto Tecnológico Superior Purépecha.
¿Cuál es la diferencia en los salarios?
En la cuarta parte prácticamente.
¿Ganas la cuarta parte?
La cuarta parte.
Eso es un mazazo, es decir, es un golpe duro.
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
¿Era opción para ti negarte a hacer eso? ¿Aceptar
no había opción, no había opción.
Vamos a dar inicio a partir de estos momentos con el conteo.
18, 19, 20, 21.
After that, a general assembly made up of every active resident elects the Council of 12. People vote by simply lining up in front of their chosen candidate.
no hay fraudes porque lo ves muy claramente quién fue el que acumuló más gente en sus filas. No se permiten las campañas porque las campañas se prestan mucho a cómo yo manejo mi lenguaje, si me aviento buenos discursos.
No nos podemos ir sin cantar el himno de Cherán.
For all its political independence, Cherán still relies economically on the existing state. And like most of rural Mexico, it suffers from high poverty and unemployment.
Está bien que tengamos nuestro modelo, que sea muy romántico, pero si no ayuda para bien a mejorar los niveles de vida de la comunidad en general, no sirve de nada.
Yet, Cherán stands as proof of one thing, that in Mexico's cycle of violence, the key ingredient is the state. Remove that ingredient, and it's possible to start from scratch.
Nosotros estamos tratando desde acá, desde abajo, tratando de implementar un proyecto distinto, un proyecto donde podamos garantizarle la seguridad a nuestra gente, y al día de hoy lo hemos logrado.
I just got a new t-shirt in the mail. Hey, I'm here to pick up a package. Oh, here we go. Oh, great. There you go. Wow. It's like it was made just for me. What an honor. Well, it turns out it was made just for me. Or more accurately, it was made just for the tiny swath of people with the same two aggregatable Facebook data points as me. Facebook's not just changing the course of American presidential history, it's also being used by t-shirt companies to make very customized, very targeted, and very corny t-shirts. Sunfrog.com is one of the handful of companies that print these shirts to order for third-party sellers.
In our peak season, we were getting 300,000 to 400,000 uploads a day. The power sellers are almost completely automated. They use scripts and teams to generate these different designs and then repeat them across however many names, however many years to throw a really wide net.
Let's say you're a mom in Texas who was born in August and has a dog. An advertiser could set up an ad for a shirt that is tailored for those moms and pay Facebook to make sure it's only shown to those moms.
So they would start with several different campaigns, one being for dog, one being for cat, one being for bird, one being for horse, whatever. And as they see those campaigns start to perform or outperform the others, then they dissect into, okay, so if the dogs are doing really well, let's actually break that down and list out, Dobermans, Pit Bulls, Labs, Retrievers, and then they do designs based on those. And as they get more specific, the conversions get higher. By the time you're that specific about it, you only had to advertise very little to get those sales.
At first, people may have sincerely enjoyed having a shirt that expresses what they share on Facebook, but now the internet has taken notice. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to making fun of the most cringeworthy examples. And of course, Redditors have begun taking the idea to its logical extreme by trying to out-ugly data shirt the ugly data shirt makers. Facebook talks a lot about how it enables small businesses, and they're right. This is just another way the company has enabled other people to make money off your data.
God damn it, this is great. Welcome to Dad Opinions, starring John Darnielle, the dude from the Mountain Goats. Yeah. Get out of town. That's really good. This automatically has my respect because the first thing we've heard that has a major 7 in it, any place, and major 7s are where I live. It reminded me of one of the 5 best bands of the 70s who don't get enough play, which is a band called War. They did Lowrider. Every album of theirs has a real cinematic feel. Who is it?
Kamasi Washington.
Oh, of course it is. the savior of jazz, right? If you haven't heard of anything that's going on in jazz, you've still heard of Kamasi Washington, right? That's super nice. I mean, maybe you get vocal exhaustion after a while. You've been listening to people sing for so long, and you sort of reach a point of saturation with that. So when no vocals came in, I'm like, cool. You have something to say musically. Who is it?
Soul Wax.
Oh, Soul Wax. So they've been around forever. I enjoyed it. So I'm really susceptible to that hook because he's talking about having arrived at success from not having been successful. It's a common and popular lyric for a reason. But then he used the phrase manifest destiny. Manifest destiny refers to a racist doctrine. If we're going to redeploy that phrase, we got to be pretty diligent. It's like, that gave me significant pause. I'm getting the snare wrong. Yes. So there's a lot of 90s stuff going on there. There were a lot of rock bands trying to incorporate new approaches to making music, like sampling stuff over live riffing. Kind of interesting. I know Trent Reznor to be a very engaged musician who wants to stay current. To me, that's the mark of a good musician, the one who's refusing to trade on past glories. I can do a pretty good Head Like a Hole. If anybody needs me at their wedding, I'm the guy to hit up for Head Like a Hole. Thank you.